the Hapeville 2017 Municipal True Hotel, Hapeville Development Authority True Hotel Series 2018 bond.
Motion to deny, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Give me 1 second, please. Feel free to chime in. Pardon me.
I'm just gonna ask, do we know why Condra's not here at the meeting tonight?
I don't know that we extended the opportunity.
Who?
Scott Condra. I didn't personally invite him, so.
So, looking at the Bleakley appraisal that we got, taking that, I went and pulled 2012 appraisal numbers, just to give me a 6-year, 2012, 2017, it's a 6-year juxtaposition of what's the percent change in appraised values of both full service and limited service hotels in the region. For some reason on Fulton County's tax assessor website, everything that's sort of within the GICC is unselectable and unsearchable. But that being said, for the hotels that I was able to look at, limited.
Because they're owned by College Park Development Authority, so they're probably non-taxable, I guess.
Within the Bleakley report had an appraised value, so I wonder how that was arrived at.
That's a good thing.
So with all this put together, the limited services that I was able to do the 6-year delta and percentage for, and then the full service 6-year delta, I took the 1-year average of those 6 years. For full services, we see an average percent increase in appraised value at 8.4% a year. For limited service, you see a per year average increase of 6.7. I believe it was previously stated when I asked if you weren't doing a pilot and you were just doing a 30-year projection, what would be the percent taken per year as a moderate and conservative, and I think it was a little bit too conservative because I was told 2%. But I think the market of which we're in demands a higher percent increase, 6.7%, 8.4%. I really think, regardless of if this hotel is appraised at 10, at 12, at 25 million, the reason for not doing a pilot, other than I'm sort of opposed to incentivizing just a hotel by itself, is that I think the sheer numbers show that the increase will take care of itself. In the 30 years that the Hilton's been here, it's full service, but it's gone from 6 to 42 million. So 700% increase in 30 years. I think we might be sort of doubting the potential of the market close to the airport by going for a pilot. So
I think comparing the Hilton to the True is apples and oranges.
and that's why I was saying Fulton versus full service versus limited, but still 6.7 for limited.
My concern is that Mr. Condra came to the city council that was seated at the time. He came to the development authority that was seated at the time. And we had a fair discussion. It was not a rush to give him what he asked for. There was quite a bit of debate that went back and forth into the discussion with Mr. Condra and his partners. We have been through a similar discussion with him and his partners on the Solis Hotel. And one of the things we agreed upon with Mr. Condra on the second deal was that there was not going to be any further 100% abatement on any part of a hotel. And we negotiated what both parties, well, all three parties, Mr. Condra, the Hapeville Development Authority, City of Hapeville, and the City Council thought was a fair deal for the city. After the election, before the new council members were sworn in, I met with each of you individually, and I advised you at that time that Mr. Condra was about to have to go hard on some money, and asked you each individually, do you have a problem with with this? Let's talk about it now. And the answer from all of you was no. So I understand that as you come into office, there's a veil that's lifted and you learn things that you didn't know prior to getting in office. So I just want the history of how we got here to be made clear and to be part of the record. Because I'm just concerned that that we made a deal, and you say, well, you made a bad deal, but we made a deal that we thought was good for the city, and the net revenue that we receive, because none of us can see into the future and anticipate. If we have another 9/11, the value is going to be dollars. So, but none of us know that. So all you can do is take the data that's there, as you've done, Travis, and extrapolate the numbers based upon what you found. So I respect your position. I'm a man of process, and I believe that this has gone through a fair and equitable process. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
For me, the rate limiting step is the fact that, as you said, yes, we did meet. I did say that I didn't have a problem with it at the time. However, to recapitulate what you said, also that as we come into office, a veil is lifted and we learn different details or new details. So that within itself puts a different spin on things for myself as to what it was at that point in time. So that was the rate limiting step for me. That's what has come into play.
Now, can I ask a question, while we're in discussion? Is the desire a flat out no deal, or is the desire to sit back and see if we can renegotiate with Mr. Condra? Because to answer your question again, Mark, Mr. Condra believed we had a deal, because everybody was good with the deal that was negotiated. So quite frankly, I'm concerned about the legal exposure this may open the city to. I've been very cautious about, I have not had any discussions with Mr. Condra since, I don't even think since this year, really. I don't.
Since we first tabled.
Yeah, since we first tabled it, I don't think I've had any discussions.
Even when you were out,
So,
I had a discussion.
One thing I would like to be made available to him, because I believe he has asked it a few times in the emails, is the Bleakley report. I have no issue with him seeing that. It's public record. It was paid for by us.
I'm sure he's probably had access to it.
Ed Wall said no.
well, appraisals, yeah, there's
The problem is at the bottom of that Bleakley report, they almost gave themselves an out because of the pilots. Here's the numbers, this is what we think. However, pilots tend to water these appraisals down, and we can't really rely heavily on the information that was gathered. So there was sort of a codicil there at the end of the Bleakley report about the numbers. I have somewhat of a fear that the group may seek financing through another government source, another development authority from Fulton County, or perhaps other
could do it as well.
other invest agencies that could cut Hapeville out of a pilot, and that we would, rather than Hapeville cutting Fulton County out, Fulton County could cut Hapeville out, and then where would we be? There's unknowns. I agree with a lot of what all of you have said in regard to this. And,
I think in the adjudication of a case like that, if that did occur, it's also something where anybody can stand up and make a argument at Fulton County Development Authority. I mean,
well, yeah, you can go into court and take exception to any deal that comes along.
And also to add, when Mr. Wall, our bond financial guy, sat here 2 weeks ago, he also preferenced his position that some of the cities are actually reevaluating their stances on pilots or tax abatements, one being College Park, because of the change of the market. And I think that we're poised here in Hapeville to rethink our decision about those as well. I mean, we're directly here at the, prime location, airport. I just think that we just need to really think how we handle these deals in the future.
They may be rethinking, but they haven't turned any down as of late. The Hawks Arena just went through about 2 weeks ago.
But I think that's a different type of development.
Well, sure, but they've done hotels as well. But, you know,
And I think, like I said, this is something I'm learning more about it. Other than being philosophically opposed to pilots for things like hotels, which I'm being honest about. But the numbers themselves over the course of 30 years, I think the net profit would be around $500,000, $500,000. Am I right? That just, with inflation, that doesn't seem like the best deal we could possibly get. Not that I'm saying the goal would be to get a certain deal, but if we're gonna do a pilot and cut out the school board, it doesn't seem worth it for $500,000 over the course of 30 years. And the second thing that I had a conversation with someone yesterday I hadn't even considered is, at the time the deal started, the market was very different. And maybe it made sense in that market, but now it doesn't. So just because it took 2 years to cultivate this deal and iron it out doesn't mean it still makes sense.
So just from a consensus standpoint, discuss renegotiation or forget the deal, period.
I think with the
I'd like to make that.
new appraisal, I don't know if we come out any better with a renegotiated deal.
I think that conversation is best made after joint meeting with Development Authority.
I agree. Also, what would be the potential legal ramifications since that was put on the table?
Well, without knowing what at this point he's expended upon compliance of the memorandum that was signed by the previous mayor and council and the developer, it's not as solid as if there was a contract in place. However, there could potentially be a cause of action because of any reliance that he may have made upon that document, any monies that were expended in reliance thereon, so on and so forth.
So are you talking about deferred reliance?
Yes, essentially. Well, essentially that, and if there was any active, based upon whatever actions that he took with hard pocket costs that were made right after that memorandum was signed in preparation for the development of the property for the hotel, whether that be down deposits on contractors, on
There's
builders,
franchise fees.
so on and so forth that were made. If he wanted to make a case or an argument for reasonable reliance, he could potentially, that's not to say he would succeed, but that would be, if I were his attorney bringing a case, that would be a count that I would have in my complaint. So, but again, that is a different kettle of fish in terms of a solid legal action as opposed to the contract they've entered into. But there is still a possibility of a suit based upon the reasonable reliance.
Well, we've always got the, one council can't bind a future council argument, but then the counter argument to that would be, well, it takes a certain period of time, as you said, 2 years, to put these deals together. I mean, they don't come together overnight, so it's a.
Sort of recalling our conversation at the coffee shop, though, my question is, we were presented this, I think, in January, so was the thinking of prior council let the upcoming council make the decision? I mean, I wasn't there, so.
I think they may,
So just
I know
always-
that, I believe that Councilman Powell, that was Councilman Powell's position.
Okay.
Mike, I don't remember.
I don't recall any
I
discussion
believe
about
Councilman Powell said, I'd rather let them, quote unquote, as in the new council, make that decision, so.
Gotcha.
So, again, I'm not up here tonight saying I disagree with your opinions, because I respect your opinions, because you've all put a lot of time and thought into this. I just want to make sure that the history of how we got to where we are tonight is crystal clear. That it wasn't a race to the finish line just to make a deal. It was well thought out, it was well calculated, and it was well structured to the point where the city's financial gain, based upon the numbers that we ran, was substantially better than if it were straight up 16, at the time, 16.61 mil. All right, further discussion? All right, there being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Motion to deny.
Yeah, motion to deny. So 3,
I think that was 4.
Do we need to revote? Oh, we,
no, I think it was 3-1. You
I voted against the
against
motion.
the motion to deny, so it's 3-1.
Correct, correct.
3-1. Motion passes 3-1. Okay, next item up under new business is consideration and action to appoint city manager. Since August 6, 2017, Tim Young has been serving as interim city manager, and after discussion and consideration, council would like to take action on appointing a city manager for the city of Fayetteville. Is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
Make a motion that we approve Tim Young as the city manager.
All right, motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion?
Just 2 issues, and it's, I've been told by colleagues, it's a little bit more of a technicality than anything. And this is a question to Tim. The audit is coming back at the next called meeting, is that correct?
That is what we expect.
All right. And essentially, you've been serving in this role since the beginning of the fiscal year started, correct? Correct. So essentially, I really think that looking at that audit against the current fiscal year is a good benchmark of progress. That's why I would like to wait 2 more weeks. And in addition, I'm going back on my sort of own prior decisions. I wish we would have advertised this for just a little bit longer to get a larger application pool. But I'm fully in faith that Tim will do an excellent job. So,
Further discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Next item up is consideration and action to provide a prorated refund in the amount of $4,166.70 for the 2018 alcohol license fee for AJAS, AJAS LLC, doing business as Joffrey's Coffee and Ice Cream Shop. Business owner Amita Patel is requesting a refund for 2018 alcohol beverage license fees. The business was officially closed as of March 1st. The total amount collected was $5,000. Ordinance number 2017-04, section 5-1-2, states that an alcohol license fee may be refunded on a pro rata basis by vote of mayor and council upon applicant showing of good cause. We are in receipt of the 2018 alcohol beverage permit, so she's turned in her permit. So is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion? Okay, there being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Next item up is consideration and action for Metro Atlanta Coalition of Kappa Chapters, MAC, to use the Jess Lucas Park on June 23rd, 2018. Councilman Adams is advised that he's a member of this organization and will be recusing himself from action or discussion or voting on this item. At the March 20th council work session, there was discussion on rental request for Jess Lucas Whiting Park. The city has a policy for staff to authorize use of the gazebo, but larger park-wide usages must be approved by mayor and council. The general leaning from the discussion is not to rent the park. Mayor Holman requested staff come back to council with the recommended uses for park. Staff will return a recommendation shortly. Presently, we have a request from Derek's Penn, representing Metropolitan Coalition of Kappa Chapters, MAC, for use of the park on Saturday, June 23rd. Should council approve the usage with or without restrictions, city staff will work with MAC with all details, including appropriate permitting, setup, and cleanup. Is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
I move to deny the rental of the park on June 23rd.
Okay, motion to deny, is there a second? Going once, going twice. Motion dies for a lack of second. Is anyone prepared to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve, is there a second?
I have questions.
Sure.
What would their use of the park entail? Because there isn't
Is
a lot of
anyone from the
details.
organization here tonight that can speak to that, gentlemen? If you'd come forward and state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you. Will you second so we can go into official discussion?
Second.
Okay, all right. There you go. Now we're in official discussion.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Harris. I represent the College Park Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. And just to give you a little background, there are alumni chapters of Kappa Alpha Psi here in the Atlanta area. The MAC, the Metro Atlanta Coalition, there are 10 chapters that stretch all the way from Alpharetta to Newman. And so each year, at the end of the fiscal year, we have a family gathering of all the brothers, their families, where it's just a picnic. Usually it's catered food. And each year a different chapter hosted. The last couple of years it's been Corn Park, Grant Park, other areas. With us, this is the area that we service, so we wanted to bring it to the south side. And so that's why we looked at just Lucas Park.
How long would the event be, on all day?
Not all day, typically it's 3 or 4 hours, usually from like 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
And other people wouldn't be allowed to use the park during that time?
When we did Grant Park, other people were in and out, but there's a large gathering of us. So it's not restricted use, but the families and people are there, there's food, things like that.
What are your approximate numbers?
Probably around 200 people, I would assume.
And this is a discussion not to rent the park, so it's an in-kind usage?
We could caveat any kind of approval you wanted to do.
I guess the only concern that I have there too, I mean, it's we're providing an asset, and I think the community deserves a payback. So are you like planning on using any local caterers or?
The food will be catered, and I think a lot of it is more for informational purposes. We don't know what we don't know. As far as the rental fee, what's expected, things of that nature. When we did it with the city of Atlanta, there was a rental fee paid.
But I'm talking about using like a City of Hapeville located business for catering.
We haven't explored that. I mean, we're not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I guess another workaround would be maybe make a donation to the youth center. Because part of what we do as our chapter is we have our guide rank program, which, as I said, we service this area, which is a mentorship program for young men. And so if we could make a donation, if that helps, that's something that we give into the community.
I'm not like willing to require that. I just think it seems like a kind thing if it's a sort of a.
But we're a service organization, so we would not be opposed to it. But again, we don't know what we don't know. We didn't know what the requirements were. My fiance actually lives in Hapeville, and so she recommended this as a, a very nice part of something that people held events, and we rode past, looked at it, and it was a very nice part, somewhere we think about.
Any questions for him?
I guess I'm a little confused in consideration of the motion. I think we were led to believe this was a full day event, but you're not sure about that, or?
No, I mean, there will be time for setup, but typically the event itself lasts about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
So you
So it's not-
pretty much need all day just to get ready for it, I guess.
And I don't know that 200 people is gonna block off the access to the park from the rest of the community by any means. And just so you'll understand, what we're trying to avoid is renting out the park where the taxpayers that pay for it don't have access to an asset as strategy.
Right, it's not that type of event.
Right,
We block
right,
everything.
right. So I think that's what, and that's why I asked at our work session that we caveat it by having people come before council and state their case so we can see on a case-by-case basis what you're looking for.
Not that I expect you to be the tax professional, but I would say most independent fraternities are 501c4s. Are
Typically,
you, is the organization that's sort of the umbrella in this case, the 501c3 or 4?
Typically, the foundation is, with most fraternities, because there's a negative stigma associated with fraternities. A lot of people look at them and they think crap, and they can't segregate in their mind that from the alumni chapter. And so usually we, as our chapter, we have a foundation, it's the 501c, that we do our golf tournament, and we're able to raise funds for our mentorship programs and give scholarships out of that.
501c, do you know the designation? 6, 4?
I would have to look.
I think aren't fraternities usually,
I was saying independent fraternities are, but like they're the
It'd be an umbrella.
umbrella organization. Sometimes is not that this matters.
All right, any further discussion?
yeah, I just needed clarity. I don't have an issue with it as long as the park is still open, and like you mentioned, I don't see 200 people.
Block it off.
Yeah, that's plenty of room.
We're planning on cleaning before you leave, right?
Yeah, so we probably hire people to do that. Typically, we hire caterers and also people clean up afterwards.
And I would just make one final comment that I would direct to staff that however we vote on this one authorization, that we not use it as a precedent. That I would like to still have these come at least for a while to council one by one. And that was my initial objection, was to be precedent setting and sort of opening the door to rentals once or twice a month and that type of thing. I definitely feel better after hearing some of your comments, and as far as the numbers, as far as the hours of the actual activity. I also believe it would be intrusive use.
Does the same geographic location, I think the email said no alcohol will be served, is that correct?
I think that was a question we asked. There's not, in the past when we've done it at the city parks, they don't allow alcohol containers. So if people, adults have it in cups, it wasn't an issue.
The preface of my question is, just remembering getting married there, I could only go to the west of the bushes. So, is that the same case in this case, like designated drinking area if they so desire?
We'll have to make that determination, and then the first determination is whether council will allow alcohol. Normally we have alcohol only for city events. So if you make the determination that they can.
But that's alcohol for sale by providers. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what the ordinance, alcohol ordinance says about that.
I'd prefer not.
No, I say it wouldn't be anything.
Right. That's not for sale, and the information we give is not for sale. It would be
Right,
distributed.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. I was just clarifying that the city events were at city licensed alcohol vendors selling alcohol, so just clarifying.
But I think his question is still relying if Joe brings a cooler with a 6-pack in it, is that okay? I'd rather no alcohol be
As
there.
long as he buys it from Beer Girl.
Yeah, I know, just in the past, for public parks, if alcohol is allowed, it requires whoever is using the park to pay for a courtesy officer by hour.
It would probably be cleaner if there were no alcohol.
I prefer no alcohol.
That's my own personal opinion.
Same. Just thought I would add.
Okay, so we're still in discussion. Any other discussion, questions?
have one more
Yes, ma'am.
request, I guess, for staff. If we're gonna be renting it, I would like to see a deposit paid. That's refundable upon a checklist of cleaning items happening.
Yeah, I think we've already got that for other venues, so it shouldn't be hard to modify. Take care of that, Tim.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments? So there being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries with one abstention, 3-1. I'm sorry, 3-0 with one abstention. Oh, one. All right. Next item is item 9.4, consideration action on agreement with South Arts in the amount of $5,500 for the 2018-19 film series, and to authorize the mayor to execute necessary documents. For the last 8 years, the city has been an active participant in the Southern Circuit film series. By entering into the contract, the city of Hazel agrees to host a series of 6 independent films with receptions with the filmmaker during the period of July 1, 2018 and June 30th, 2019. Hosting the series includes paying a participation fee of $5,500 to the Southern Circuit, as well as providing event planning, hosting, marketing, and any related expenses. Staff recommends approval. Is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
Move for the approved.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second, discussion?
I have one thing. I mentioned it before, but South Arts has several other programs. One is a performing arts touring program that they provide a grant for. And we missed the deadline for that one. It was March 1st. The second is for a literary touring program. And the programs have to occur, I think, between like May and July. But if you're interested, because that's your thing. I think that would be a nice addition if we have time to apply for the literary arts touring program. It's mostly artists. They're from a 9-state region, I think, in the southeast. So I think it would be a nice addition to something like this, the lines of the arts.
Sounds good. All right, any further discussion? All right, there be none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is consideration and action to enter into an agreement with Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning for the Bright from the Start Summer Foods Program. The Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP, grant has been utilized by the Hazel Recreation Department for the past 6 years. This grant allows the city to serve food at no charge to the children that attend summer camp, as well as children from around the Hayville area. We make and serve breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday for all children under the age of 18, as well as adults with disabilities 19 and older. We serve breakfast from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and lunch from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And each meal consists of a major food components like fruits and vegetables and milk. Recreation staff nominates Holly Lovins as the delegated